NBA legends explaining why Larry Bird was a monster. Let's get into the video. Like, share, subscribe, stay tuned for more reaction videos.
There are players who play the game, and then there are players who rewrote how it was played. When people talk about Larry Bird, they often start with the cliches. The slow white guy who somehow beat everybody. The guy who didn't
That was a crazy pass.
jump high, didn't run fast, and still torched the league for over a decade. But if you strip away the stereotypes, if you ignore the jokes and highlight reels, what's left is the cold, hard truth that's echoed by every legend who ever shared the court with him. Larry Bird wasn't just good. He wasn't just great. He was built differently. And that difference wasn't measured in inches or speed. It was measured in instinct, in calculation, and in the way he made the extraordinary look routine. He didn't need the crowd to erupt. He didn't need the cameras to be on him. He needed the ball, the moment, and an opponent foolish enough to think they had the upper hand. From the moment he stepped into the league in 1979, Bird commanded respect in a way few rookies ever have. And over the next 13 seasons, he built a legacy not just with numbers and accolades, moments so precise and surreal that they're retold with disbelief decades later. But don't take our word for it. Listen to the ones who played against him, the ones who tried to stop him. Because if you want to know what Larry Bird was really like, the legends will tell you better than any stat sheet ever could. Even players who didn't face Bird directly, who came into the...
I'm glad he mentioned not from stat sheets, because we look at that too much. We look at stats too much. You lose me when you start to talk about stats now, because players can stuff their stats. Your stats will be better if you have a coach that gives you flexibility to do whatever you want. I looked at James Harden's stats a couple of years ago. Insane. Not a couple, but almost a decade ago when he was on the Houston Rockets. Insane. But was he winning? Was he empowering his teammates? Was he even the type that coaches want on their team? No. So I'm glad he mentioned something about we want the players to give context on what the player was like, not based on stats. Love it.
Into the league after his retirement, speak about him with a kind of reverence. They've studied the tape, they've watched the plays, and they understand just how ahead of his time Larry really was. Baron Davis and Iman Shumpert, two modern-era players with high basketball IQs, broke it down in a podcast that went viral for one reason. It didn't sound like nostalgia. It sounded like the truth. In a 2024 episode of their show, Baron and Shump got real about what it would look like if Bird laced them up in the modern NBA. No hand-checking, more spacing, rules tilted toward offense.
He would torch people, man. He would torch people. You can't touch him. You can't force him where you want him to go by having that advantage. And he's 6'11".
Didn't play against Bird, but they've seen the film. They know the tempo, and they recognize how his skill set would only get deadlier in today's system.
Like, are you kidding me? Larry Bird in this era? Are you kidding me? That's what be boiling my blood. It's been more rough though. For who? For Larry. How? And it starts. What's me?
Who was that?
How? Just a physical capability.
Bro, shut up. He played with LeBron. That's why I'm saying that.
That's a lot of 16. Okay. That's a lot of that. That's all I'm saying. He birthed that. Don't get me wrong, he birthed it. I'm just saying. We hadn't seen it. Who's going to be matched up against Larry Bird? Karl Anthony Towns. That's a nightmare, man. Karl Anthony.
But if you really want to know who Larry Bird was, you've got to go to the ones who actually stood across from him. Karl Malone has one of the most legendary Bird stories ever told. It's not just funny, it's surgical. He said, "I'm going to get it right here. I'm going to shoot from this corner. You know what I'm going to do." Malone said it perfectly. I what he will do. And I still can't stop it. Bird got the ball, just like he said, rose up, and hit the jumper from the exact spot.
I remember sitting on the bench, watching Kevin McHale and Larry Bird. And Larry Bird did something, to me, I'm still marveling at this. And he got so many people. It was a timeout. And one of our teammates, Boy Kofo, had a camera. Right. He's taking pictures. So Larry Bird came over there and looked at our bench. And he said, 3-pointer. So right over here. So I'm sitting over there looking like, that's Dave Room. Calling your shot already, right? Yeah. So I'm sitting there looking. He looked down at the floor. Hell, everybody looked down at the floor. He like he threw something. And he hit a 3. And I remember Kevin kind of looking over at the bench like this gonna be a long night.
That was Bird. He didn't need flash to embarrass you, just a moment and a motive. And it didn't matter who you were.
The thing I appreciate about not just him, but a lot of these tough-minded athletes, they'll tell you they'll do something and get it done, no matter what. Whether it is delivering championships, delivering what they'll do on the court, or whatever it is, and or even just showing up to practice early and leaving after everybody else. That is something that is admirable. You can count on people like that. You know what I mean? You want someone like that on your team. That's a leader.
Rookie or vet, all-star or bench guy. If you were on the floor, Bird had a target on you. Just ask Dominique Wilkins. In a playoff game, Wilkins approached Bird for a pregame handshake. Bird kept his hands behind his back. He didn't say a word, just stared. Wilkins said, "Okay, he's just getting into the game." But then Bird gave him 38, still without speaking.
And so I go shake his hand, and he put both hands behind his back. And I'm saying, okay, we can get his head ready to play. And first play of the game, he says, "I don't know where they got you guarding me, Holmes." And he shoots a three. I was pissed. I said, I wasn't mad he hit the three, but it's just called me Holmes. And so it set up for a really interesting game. I remember one time I came down and I dunked it on him. He laying on the ground, he fouled me, and I'm pointing. And he said, "Hey, Rook." I said, "What?" He said, "What you?" He said, "I like you. You got, he said, you got balls, but I'm still going to get 30 on your ass." You got about.
It wasn't personal.
Man, the trash talking now today is gone. It's not there anymore. Players don't trash talk now anymore. They don't. They cry on the internet. KD, LeBron, they cry on the internet. They don't do this now. They're out there pointing in the stands to kick fans out of the game for heckling. LeBron.
It was psychological. Bird didn't need to engage in theatrics. He just needed the basketball. But when it came to talking, Larry could match anyone. And he often didn't just talk. He narrated. Gary Payton, one of the most legendary trash talkers in NBA history, still remembers the way Bird toyed with defenders. Payton recalled, "We'd be in the huddle and he'd be like, 'You guys don't even need to guard me. I'm just going to stand out here at the three-point line.' Then he said, 'I'm going to shoot it in your face right there in the corner.' And he'd do it. He used to tell me, 'I'm going to shoot this three right in your face.' Then he'd say, 'Why is your coach still putting you on me?' That wasn't bravado. That was truth. Bird didn't just predict outcomes. He delivered them."
Well, as much of a trash talker as you are, you actually there's someone who's actually greater than you. And that is Larry Bird.
Absolutely.
Or you said that not only would he talk shit to you, but he would tell you what he's going to do to you on the court. He's like, "I'm going to shoot this from here."
You know the difference between these players talking about the best players of the era versus the ones now? You notice on the bottom of the screen, 9-time All-Star, 10-time All-Star, Hall of Fame players talking about these guys. Now, you have math nerds, janitors, football players, people of other professions trying to make comments about the NBA they never played. Can you imagine that? That's what I noticed about the people speaking on the greats back then. Do you notice that too? Let me know in the comment section.
From here, boom. Oh, now I'm going to I'm going to bust your ass here. Larry Bird, of all people, you would think. But nah, he was the truth.
Let me tell you something. People always talk about great basketball players, and they don't never mention him to be up in that round when they mean the Magics, the Jordans, the Kobe's, and stuff like that. But Larry Bird was cold. I don't think nobody ever could get out with him. You ask Magic. That's why Magic had a run, and he was mad when he had to retire in '92 because of what he was going to be missing with Larry.
Byron Scott remembers it too. In one game, Bird told him, "I'm going to get it right here, and I'm going to shoot it right in your face." Scott didn't take it seriously. He said, "Whatever." But Bird got the ball, rose up, hit the shot, and then turned and said, "I didn't mean to leave 2 seconds on the clock."
So we playing him in the last play. He says to James Worthy, he said, "You guys don't have to worry about it. I'm going to go right over there in that corner." He said, "They're going to set a screen for me. We're taking the ball out." He said, "I'm going to curl right over." And he's telling us to play. He's telling us to play before they even take it out. He said, "I'm going to go right over to that corner, and I'm going to catch it, I'm going to shoot it, and I'm going to tie the game or win the game, whatever the case may be." They take the ball out. I think it was either Danny or the late, great DJ. Yeah. Take the ball out. The man curl right to the corner, caught this out, shot a three. It's like, are you effing kidding me?
Go shake his hand. I'm going to work him.
Doc Rivers is known today as a seasoned NBA coach.
If you tell me that, I will not let you catch. I will tackle you before I catch the ball. If you do that to me, I will make sure both our legs are broken before I catch that ball and do it. On me, not allowing it. I'm joking, of course, but still.
Coach, a former champion on the sideline, and one of the league's most respected voices. But before any of that, he was a player, a gritty, intelligent guard who had to go toe-to-toe with some of the toughest names in the league during the 1980s and 90s. And during that time, he experienced something unforgettable. He didn't just hear about Larry Bird's greatness in interviews or watch it on grainy film. He lived through it specifically, one of the most iconic scoring performances in NBA history. Rivers was on the court the night Bird dropped 60 points. And it wasn't the kind of performance that snuck up on anyone. From the opening minutes, Bird let everyone know exactly what was coming. Not just that he was going to score, but how. Before each shot, he called his move, told defenders what spot he was getting to, and then executed it to perfection. There were no tricks, no surprises, just pure dominance from start to finish. Rivers saw it all unfold in real time, and it left an impression that still resonates decades later. Because when a player doesn't just torch your team, but tells you exactly how he's going to do it and still can't be stopped. You remember?
You remember? Well, you had the Bird night.
I had the Bird night. That was a tough night, man. The biggest argument that night is, well, you only scored 6 on me.
Nobody was guarding Bird, were they?
Well, we were trying. But when a guy is literally coming up the court, calling his shots, and Bird talked a lot of trash.
And that's in New Orleans.
That's in New Orleans. In that game, we're on the free throw line, and he's like, he literally says, left side across the 3, and you're listening to him. That's a tough feeling.
But okay, so you guys got Antoine Carr and Cliff Livingston got fined by Futillo, I think,
And Eddie Johnson for celebrating
Bird.
Yeah, it was the best film session. Every time when I see Mike, we still have. It was the greatest film session ever because back then you didn't have. You watched the real game and just went with a video, and Mike rewound the celebration 20 times. He just kept not the shot. He just kept rewinding it, showing the guys. You remember they're giving each other a high five.
And then somebody falls off the bench.
Yeah, that was Eddie Johnson. That was Eddie Johnson.
Oh, I remember this one. I remember this one. I know that one. Somebody here fell down. Wait.
And Antoine Carr and Cliff gives each
Oh
other a
my
high five. And our
goodness.
film session was 20 minutes of that. So it was.
It wasn't somebody not playing good defense on Bird. It was you were celebrating Larry Bird.
Until we let it go, he just kept rewinding. But it was.
I think Bird went by the bench one time too.
He fell in the bench. And he called that one. That was the one where he fell in. He literally said, "Off the glass, into the trainer." And so.
Red Auerbach wasn't just a coach. He was the architect of the Boston
That is real trash talking. Real trash talking.
Celtics dynasty. A man who built champions across multiple decades and who set the gold standard for what excellence looked like in professional basketball. By the time Larry Bird entered the league, Auerbach had already coached and mentored legends. Wow. He had seen Russell dominate the paint, Havlicek run the break, and Cousy dazzle with his handles. So when Auerbach spoke about a player, it carried the weight of experience, legacy, and credibility. And what he said about Larry Bird was simple but revealing. Bird didn't need motivation. He didn't need a push from a coach, a rival, or the crowd. He came ready every single night. With Bird,
Man, that is something admirable. In anything. Somebody that doesn't need to constantly be reassured, to be motivated, to be inspired. You have that within you, you achieve anything. You can achieve anything.
Bird, there was never a question about effort or focus. He approached each game like it was a final exam and prepared to pass it with precision. To Red, Bird wasn't just consistent, he was relentless. And coming from a man who had coached more Hall of Famers than most people can name, that kind of praise wasn't handed out lightly. It was earned.
You can make a case for the greatest player of all time, for Russell, for Bird, for Jordan, for Magic, and for Kareem. Those 5, you can make a case as to who the greatest, most valuable player of all time is. Larry Bird was like a Magic Johnson, or a Magic Johnson was like a Larry Bird. They try to add something new every year. They work harder than the rest of them. When practice is over, you can see Larry Bird out there every day, shooting for another 20 minutes, another half hour. If he didn't get enough running, he'd do some laps. He would just work hard. But above all, he was the most highly self-motivated athlete I ever was connected with. Larry Bird was. Forget the fact that he plays hurt. I saw him one day with a foot that if it was me, I'd be in bed. It was all shiny and infected. He had the doctor come in, cut it, put a bandage on it, went out and played. Unbelievable. He didn't have to play. But that's how those great ones are.
In just 13 seasons, Bird accomplished more than most players could dream of in 20. He was a 3-time NBA champion. He won 3 consecutive MVPs from 1984 to
Wow, that's amazing.
1986. He was named to 12 All-Star teams. He won Rookie of the Year, 2 Finals MVPs,
Wow. That 13 years stretch is impressive.
and earned a spot on both the NBA's 50th and 75th anniversary teams. He averaged over 24 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists per game. He shot over 37% from 3 during an era when teams barely used the three-point shot. He became the founding member of the 50-40-90 club, shooting over 50% from the field, 40% from 3, and 90% from the line in a single season. He did all of it with injuries that would sideline most players today. He dove for loose balls. He played
T-Mac.
through back pain. He played with tape, ice, grit, and pride. Bird wasn't a highlight machine. He was a machine, period. He saw the court like a point guard, rebounded like a power forward, shot like a shooting guard, and led like a franchise player. In today's NBA, with more possessions, more space, and more freedom, Bird's numbers...
You destroy people. You destroy people. The amount of spacing that they have now, plus flexibility on defense, it benefits the offensive player. As an offensive player, you'll be more efficient, you'll score more points, and you'll have more chances to score. Come on. And not only that, but every missed shot means more rebounds, which means more stat padding, which is what's happening now. I mean, teams are averaging over 115 points now. Like, it's a no-brainer.
Numbers wouldn't decline. They'd explode. Because the league has evolved into the style of play Larry Bird was already mastering in the 1980s. He didn't wait for permission. He didn't follow trends. He set them. And that's why the legends can't stop talking about him. It's not nostalgia. It's not exaggeration. It's memory and respect.
Wow.
They didn't just play against Larry Bird. They were outthought, outplayed, and in many cases, left stunned by how simple he made the game look. Bird didn't win because of Rudy acted on it with no hesitation. That's what separated him. Not just that he knew what to do, but that he did it before you could react. He wasn't concerned with looking the part. He was concerned with winning. He didn't measure greatness through flash or marketability. He measured it in results. He didn't care who was in front of him, whether it was a future Hall of Famer or a rookie on his first 10-day contract.
That was a crazy pass.
The same way, with an edge, a plan, and a relentless drive to prove that basketball wasn't about who jumped the highest or talked the loudest. It was about who understood the game best. And more often than not, that was Larry. Each story you hear, whether it's Baron Davis talking about how Bird would thrive in today's game, or Gary Payton shaking his head in disbelief at Bird's in-game predictions, comes from a place of deep, almost reverent respect. These aren't just compliments. They're admissions. Because even among the greatest to ever play the game, Bird left an impression that time hasn't erased. The stories may vary in detail, but they all land in the same place. He wasn't like the others. He thought faster, played smarter, and competed harder than almost anyone the league has ever seen. So when players across generations, from the 1980s to today, tell you that Larry Bird was different, you don't question it. You listen.
Yeah, man. Great video, great video. I'll link the original below for you to check it out. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Where you rank Larry Bird all time? Why you believe is great outside the stats? I don't care about the stats. Just let me know what other things make him so great, such as work ethic, leadership, grit, stuff like that. I'm tired of hearing about stats. We need to stop it, because that is not what makes a player great. He has many attributes that if you gave it to a lot of the talented individuals that played throughout time, they'll rank higher. But anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Stay tuned for more videos. And that's it. God bless you, and I'll see you on the next one.